Welcome back, guys. Today is finally the day. It is D-Day for the KTM 350 XCF. That's right, guys. Laying out in front of us, we've got just about everything we need to build an entire 2018 KTM 350 XCF. Now, if you didn't see this series from the beginning, I highly recommend you go back and check it out before you watch this video. This thing was kind of messed up. It was blown up in a race. It was owned previously by a racer, and it was basically destined to be parted out. We saved it, brought it back to life, and we've got a totally custom color scheme. This is the first time really getting to see everything laid out, and I am so excited to see what it's going to look like when it comes together. And the good news is, by the end of this video, this entire bike will be built all together, and you'll be able to see that. So we're gonna come in and have a closer look at all the parts going into this build. But before we do that, if you enjoy seeing the exploded view and aerial shots of the entire machine spread out of the driveway, make sure to give me a thumbs up. That helps me out tremendously. All right, man, so we are just gonna go ahead and start in this top corner and work our way to the back corner. It really is cool. This is the first time that I've seen like all of the pieces laid out next to each other, because the color scheme on this is absolutely wild. So I'm just getting really excited anyways. We'll go over the plastics here. I've got two different plastic kits. You can see it fades to gray. So basically what I did is I bought two kits and then mix and match them to make it a two-tone color scheme. And I've got about half of the graphics out here. These are from Graphics Producer. I designed these on the computer and then they print them, and you can see the Legend logo has holographic coloring to it. It's gonna look really, really good, especially in the sun, like moving around, but the rest of it isn't holographic. I felt like if we did the whole thing holographic, it'd just be a little bit too much. Now over here, we've got the engine, and dude, this thing really came out nice. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the color of the clutch cover or the water pump, or if it's just the zinc coated bolts. I don't know what it is, but it really just pops. And I think it's gonna look super good with the build. There will of course be a full build tutorial video of how to build this engine once we make sure it runs properly. Behind that, we've got the throttle body. I have that all cleaned up, did that in the ultrasonic cleaner, lubed up the cables, everything's ready to go. Then I've got the Mega Bomb header. That thing was really hard to get a hold of. And the FMF 4.1, it's a titanium body with the carbon fiber tip. That was like the coolest one you could get. Plus it goes with the color scheme like amazingly. Then up here, these are the original radiators. Had them reinforced by ICW. They're straightened out, and you can see those crossbars on the front and back. They should be significantly stronger than stock. And then coming up here, we've got the not so exciting wire harness. This is the one that came off of it. Spent a good bit of time just cleaning the crap out of that thing, because man, it was caked with dirt. Got a brand new featherweight battery. And then in here, this is actually pretty cool. This is the ECU, and I had this tuned by Tokyo Mods. So it is going to be tuned for my riding style, that FMF exhaust and all the other stuff that we've done to the engine. Over here, we've got some Enduro Engineering handguards. I put those on my KX250 and I love them. We've got some Moose handlebars. We've got our refinished brake and clutch master cylinder. They look brand spanking new. We've got these titanium pegs. These are going to be awesome, man. These things are oversized too. Really excited, and they weigh like nothing, man. That titanium, high dollar item right there, man. Really excited to run those. And of course, the Ermosi bar clamps. I have yet to have these on a dirt bike. They're supposed to be tremendously good in preventing arm pump. It's supposed to give you a little bit more endurance. So I'm excited to run those. Got our brand new KTM fuel tank. I have a new fuel filter, fuel pump, and everything in there. It's ready to rock and roll. Got our suspension all redone by Rocket Ron. The tubes were Cerakoted by Bonehead Performance to match the engine and the color scheme. Then we've got our RK520 chain, and coming down here, we've got the triple trees. Those were Cerakoted by Bonehead Performance in bronze. They're gonna look awesome. And then the brakes, completely redone. The vapor blasting was done by Motoblast. The bronze coating was done by Bonehead Performance. And then I rebuilt the brakes with components that I got from PARTZILLA. Look at the brake, the foot brake, dude. I don't know why, that's just like, it's like a piece of art. Like so many companies came together to make this stuff happen, you know. We've got an aftermarket shift lever. Our linkage, completely rebuilt. That took quite a bit of time, but it actually looks pretty awesome. And then we've got these wheels, dude. These things look absolutely incredible. The overall fit and finish of them is just so nice. These are the Enduro Pro Series by Ermosi. Really, really nice. And then I've got some aftermarket rotors on there. You can see the hub in there. They're just beautiful rims. And then they're wrapped in Bridgestone. What are these called? Battlecross, I think? Yeah, the Battlecross X31. I heard that that is an awesome tire to run. There was a bunch of suggestions that you guys gave me. That's just the one that I decided to go with. And you'll notice that these have black nipples and these have bare nipples. They're silver. I may have mistakenly ordered the wrong color, but you know what? I think that it's okay. We're just gonna pretend we didn't see that. And then if we come up here, we've got a TM Designs plastic belly skid. This bike came with an aluminum one. I don't really like aluminum skid plates because just at least in my experience with quads, they're noisy. So I thought the poly one would be cool. We've got our airbox, already put that on there. That's kind of a pain in the ass. And I switched the color to black. It used to be white for the factory KTM 350. Swing arm is powder coated by Bonehead Performance in blackjack. All rebuilt, brand new bearings in there. And then we've got the seat cover up here with a #1 gripper seat cover, all nice and tight. And man, that thing is super grippy. And then last but not least, this frame with that poppin', vibrant yellow powder coat right from Bonehead Performance, man, it looks awesome. Well, now that you've seen the parts, it's time to build this thing. And I guess I'll just stand here and wait for you guys to help me bring all of this stuff inside. I'll just do it myself, I guess. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I cheated on you guys just a little bit, and I got the frame prepared. Let me show you what I did. Now, I don't wanna hear any complaining or anything because you guys weren't here, so I had to get started. But anyways, you guys gotta check this frame out, man. It damn near glows. It is quite a poppin' color. It was done by Bonehead Performance Coatings, and one of the things I love is that they will mask off where your VIN is. You can still barely see this one though, but they mask it off and then they'll put a clear on over top so it's not gonna rust. If they didn't mask that off, man, you would never be able to read that. Anyways, I've already gone around and done all of the hardware. It always amazes me how long it takes to just match up all of the hardware, where it goes. It's all zinc coated, all fresh, looks amazing. That's all done by Moto Blast. And I did what I like to call pre-work, which is basically where I go around and in all of the threads, I clean them up with a thread chase. In some cases, I actually have to use a thread tap and just clean them out because a lot of times, like the bolts are not gonna just thread in like this when it comes back from coating. You get little pieces of sandblasting and stuff in there. It's kind of typical stuff that happens when it comes back from the coater. I also had to come in here where the linkage goes and just sand some of the powder coat out so that this could fit in here because this coating is so thick that it actually wouldn't fit in there. So that's just normal stuff. Got our new bearing races pressed in the steering stem, and I also put those badass titanium pegs made by Moose. These things look awesome, dude. And I'll tell you what, these were not easy to put on. And you'll notice the way I have these pins oriented for the pegs. In the manual, I thought this was really interesting. They have the changing the footrests for all SXF models, and the pin goes through the front. You can see the engines up here. And then if you flip the page and go to the XCF models, which is what we have, the pin, you can see the cotter pin in the front there. The pin goes in from the back. You can see the chain and the swing arm are over here. So, I mean, I don't really think it matters which way the pin goes, but I put it the way that it says the XCF goes. Weird, I don't really know, don't care. Let's go ahead and put this T-frame thing in though. I wanted to do this with you guys because it's kind of weird. It's kind of a pain in the ass figuring out how to get this damn thing out of here. You know, it's like a T, like this. It goes through the frame here, then pops out the other side, and then we're gonna be coming up from the bottom and actually threading into this T. You need a special tool from KTM, which I found a workaround, and we also don't want to get any leaks up in the frame because I think it could be possibly a pain in the ass doing this if the engine was in there. So I don't want to have to go back and redo this job. So what I got here is some true blue pipe thread sealant, and it's vibration resistant. Cameron from Power Sports Nation told me that he guarantees that this won't leak if I use this true blue stuff. He guarantees it. So if this leaks, it's your fault, Cameron, at Power Sports Nation. But anyways, this stuff says it's good for 400 degrees, and we should be plenty good with that. I just have a good feeling that this is gonna work, and I think our best bet is gonna be putting a little bit in this part of the T and on the tube itself. All right, so let's pop this thing open. Wow, dude, they gave me a broken tube. There's no hole in it. Can't believe they gave me a broken tube. Unbelievable. I just noticed that this stuff is by Rector Seal. Kind of sounds like rectal seal. You know, with rectal seals, that's something you definitely don't want to be messing around with. So this has definitely got to be some good stuff. And it is true blue. Look at that. We're just going to put a little bit in here. And I think I'm just going to kind of smear it around on the threads. I do not want any leaks on this bike. Not in here anyways. Or anywhere. It should be sufficient. And then this T-piece pops through the frame, and then you sort of gotta push and pull on this side and get it to pop through. There we go. And then we'll be coming up through this hole right here and threading into that T. And there's actually a special tool to get this damn thing on there, you know, in the fashion of KTM, right? There's like 3 little ribs, if you guys can see on the inside here. They make a special tool that looks almost like it looks like a deep well socket, and it's got 3 little grooves on the outside, and it fits in there, and it allows you to spin this thing. Well, I've discovered through forums that if you have a bolt with a 14mm head, it fits in there just right. And that's how I got this thing out. So it should go back in no problem using this method. It's just literally a bolt with a nut screwed on the bottom. And so I'm gonna put a little bit of sealant on this, and then we'll throw it up in there. All right, let's see how we do here. I've got this long, thin screwdriver. All right, it fits through. That'll give us some nice leverage up there. And then we'll just spin this bastard in through the bottom. And I guess I'll just make this snug. Couldn't really find anything in the service manual that said anything about how to tighten that. Well, hopefully that rectal cream works good and we don't have any leaks. So we're gonna put the engine in now. I like to put a towel in the frame. This just kind of helps because when you're taking the engine, it can be kind of cumbersome and like knocking around. You don't want to chip up your powder coat. This engine's actually not that heavy. Or maybe I'm just super strong. Probably not, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Let's get the engine in. This doesn't even seem like it's gonna fit in here. What the hell? The bottom end is so damn thick. That's what she said. So, you know, I didn't take this engine out. This was a basket case. I think I see how it can go. You're gonna have to do the old through arm method. Help to get this out of the way. All right, not bad. All right, now let's see if I can line up this swing arm bolt. And this will just kind of help locate the engine. We're gonna have to take this back out to do the swing arm. Sometimes you just gotta blast this bastard through with a good old dead blow. Not bad. All right, now I can tilt the engine up. Can I tilt the engine up? The oil filter right here hits the frame when you tilt it, so... I think what I'm gonna do actually, since this front hole, this front motor mount is lined up, we'll pop the front motor mount in place, pull the swing arm bolt back out, and that should give us enough play to lift it forward and get this towel out. Okay, there's one side. There we go. We good. Now I can put the rest of the motor mounts in just to get everything lined up. I'm putting a little bit of medium strength thread locker on all the motor mount bolts. Now, I typically don't tighten the motor mount bolts until later on. All right, now if we can get our swing arm on without any problems, then practically this entire bike will be built, because this is probably my least favorite part sometimes. I've had miracles in the past where the swing arm just goes in place, but it's unlikely. So let's just see what happens. Come on, you bastard. Oh, dude. I think we got a good one. Yeah, dude. Yes. Kind of disappointed. I shouldn't say that though. There's plenty of other things that could go wrong. All right, I'm gonna go cut my hair. All right, now we can line our linkage up here and get the rear shock on. I've got anti-seize on all of this stuff because this shit can be really difficult getting it apart if you don't put that on there. One of the things I really like about KTM is on the hardware on the one side, they've got like these half moons. It makes it really easy because you only have to tighten the one side. You don't have to hold the bolt on this end. Pretty nice feature. All right, I gotta move this bastard back a little bit on the stand to get the rear shock on. All right, we should be good now. Oh, shit. We gotta put some weight on the front of this damn thing. Gotta be resourceful sometimes, man, but sometimes it's whatever in arm's reach. I'm just gonna run a strap through our stand here and give it a little bit more support in the front here so we don't lose ourselves. It would suck if this thing fell over. Okay, now it should be good. All right, I think it's about time we head around to the front end and get some weight on there so this damn thing doesn't tip over. Go ahead and do our triple tree. We've got the lower bearing I already pressed on there, and I packed this with grease. You can see, well, the bolts on the side are wiggling around a little bit, but the bearing is super, super tight. Not super tight, but it's packed with grease. We'll do the top one together. This is actually something that you guys taught me. I used to think that putting on bearing grease was literally as simple as like smearing it on there, man, slapping it together and you're good to go. But this will make the bearings last a lot longer. As I do this, I'm actually jamming grease into the bearing. If you notice, you see it squeezing out through the top there. We'll just do that. And I keep putting a line of grease on my gloves. And I just kind of go around the perimeter here and pack these bearings with grease. My school of thought is that you don't want to go so heavy that there's no space at all in them. But I do go pretty heavy. If they're so packed though, like they won't move. So you got to leave a little bit of space in there. Take a little bit of that leftover graza and put it on the brand new outer races of our steering stem bearings. No fuss, no muss, because nobody likes a mess. All right, now I'm hoping that these triple tree clamps go together and the forks slide into place no problem with the Cerakote on here. Cerakote is like a super thin coating, and it might go on no problem. And we've got an O-ring that goes up here. And now, hopefully, this will press into place. Shit. I think we're good though. I think it fits. It fits. That's what she said. Hopefully this slides in just as easy as the triple tree did. It's looking like we're gonna be okay. Oh, there we go. Now it says in the manual, these milled lines here need to be positioned correctly. The second one from the bottom, which is the middle one, is supposed to be flush with the top triple tree. Okay, right there looks good. I'm just gonna put a little bit of tension on these just so they don't move. Now the manual procedure says to put this bolt in the top, but don't tighten it. Do the lower fork to 8.9 foot-pounds. Then we can tighten this to 18.9 foot-pounds. And this bolt gets a little bit of Loctite. Gets tightened to 14.8. And these bastards up top go to 12.5. Did we do that right? I just don't know. But it does feel really tight. It feels good. This was actually one of the things that was messed up when I pulled the bike apart. It was like really, really notchy. The bearings were bad. All right, I'm hell-bent on getting these wheels on before we go to bed. Well, maybe not, because what if something goes wrong and we're out here until 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, sometimes that happens, but we're getting the damn wheels on tonight. So this stand is actually really nice for putting wheels in place because it kind of makes it, well, it doesn't kind of, it makes it adjustable height-wise. Ooh, and just makes it really easy for putting the wheels on. We can come in here with our fresh to death Hermosi Pro Enduro Series front wheel. And now I can adjust the stand to come up to the height that we need. Just makes it really easy. Got this freshly greased, freshly zinc coated axle. This thing looks awesome, dude. And I did grease the inner lip of the seals of our bearings and whatnot. These Hermosi wheels come packed with brand new bearings, seals, and everything. They're ready to go. Spacers also. We have to float the front axle. I like to have the brakes on to do that. So for now, I'm just gonna basically put these wheels in place and we'll tighten them up later. I can get this back wheel on, put the brake caliper in place. I'm actually really excited to see this because these wheels look freaking menacing, dude. It just looks so sick. It's such a clean look. Do the same thing as last time, bring this on up. And I've got these Pretty Trick Works Connection axle blocks back here. Pick those up from PARTZILLA. Oh man, dude, this thing is actually starting to look like a bike now. Then we've got this beautiful front brake caliper, Cerakoted by Bonehead Performance and vapor blasted by Moto Blast. Got some fresh Loctite on these bad boys. We got the wheels on, yes, but we have absolutely got to do something before I go to bed tonight. We have got to put on our fork guards. I can't wait any longer. I want to see what the color scheme looks like. And I know this is probably going to make it more difficult putting some of the other stuff on, but we have just got to get this front fender on and see what it looks like. Oh man, you got to admit, this thing looks sick. It looks so good. It's so cool to see the vision. You know, we had the color scheme rendered up, and to see it come to life is so, so cool, man. Look how awesome this stuff looks. I really hope these colors pop on the camera as much as they're popping in person, dude. It just looks so good. I can't wait to get that front number plate on there. It looks like really, like it's missing something. And the subframe with the rear fender and the seat cover. Oh, dude, it's gonna look so good. I can't wait, man. Even that red shock looks really good. Oh, man. Really, really happy with this. The little blue anodized axle blocks. It all kind of comes together and just looks awesome, dude. Very, very stoked with this, man. It looks very, very good. I think we've earned ourselves a break. It's about midnight. I think I can go in, get a nice snack. I'm pretty hungry. You guys know me, man. And we'll pick this up tomorrow. Well, it's already nighttime. I spent the day working on the Mustang, and as usual, it took longer than normal. So we're at the nighttime hours, but I do want to do the wire harness tonight. So in order to do that, I'd like to get the subframe in place because the wire harness, you know, runs down the whole frame, and there's a lot that goes in the subframe. Before I do that, I want to put our throttle body in here, and just, you know, because this is more cables, and also I think it would be a pain in the ass getting this throttle body on here once the subframe's in place, because it kind of like goes in order, you know, because this airbox has the tube right on it, so it just kind of pops in like so. I want to make sure that this is going to fit on the frame up top. Oh yeah, much, much better. I couldn't find in the service manual what the spec for these are, like if they need Loctite or anything. It's probably in there. I just searched for like 5 minutes and I don't feel like looking anymore. But one of the indicators that I look for is, you can see even after this was vapor blasted and got new zinc coating, god damn it. You look at this bolt, you can see there's some remnants of thread locker, even after it was vapor blasted and coated. So we're just gonna go ahead and put a little bit of thread locker on there. I love this red Amazon thread locker. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to link it in the description because I think it's discontinued, but it's like a medium, slightly stronger, but not as strong as like a name brand red. It works really well for stuff like this. Oh man, it's really starting to look good. Put our little mud flappy on back here. All right. And I'm sorry guys, but I just have to put this on right now. The rear fender is gonna give us another good look at what this color scheme is going to look like. Let's get our bars in place too, because we got a lot of cables and stuff that run up there. So we're going to be using the Ormosi SBC 720. I have never installed these on a dirt bike, or even really run them on a dirt bike, but I've got them on all of my quads and I absolutely love them. It's an anti-fatigue system, really. It's anti-vibration, but it just really helps with arm pump. Anyways, I've never installed this on a dirt bike, and I'm looking at these pieces. It's got 2 aluminum pieces that slide through the triple tree, and then there's this really trick piece here. You can see it says Hermosi right on there. It pops on top, and when the one's on the other side, it kind of, you know, goes in place like that, and it locks everything in place so that there's smaller bolt holes. And I'm like, man, that looks really trick with the Hermosi and stuff, but we're gonna lose these 2 holes here, which is where the hour meter goes in the factory location. I'm like, oh, whatever. And it just doesn't seem right, because in the bottom of these, there's a slot, if you guys can see. And if you put this up here, it's kind of just floating around, and there's like a gap in between, and that seems really chintz. And then I realized that I'm an idiot, and it actually goes the opposite way through the top, and you can see the square portion fits into the square portion on the bottom of the clamps, and that will hold it nice and straight once this piece is on the underside like so, it's pretty tricky. You can see Hermosi right there. Unfortunately, we won't really be able to see that once the front number plate's on there, but it's still freaking sweet piece. I also noticed on the back, this is how serious Hermosi is about weight reduction. They even ground this little slot out or machined it out. You know how I am with weight reduction. It's freaking awesome. You can see once this is on there in the correct way, it can't move left or right. It fits right into that slot. And you do have the option of 2 different holes in here, so you can mount them a little bit forward or a little bit reverse. It gives you a little bit of play there. Now you've got 2 different mounting rubbers here. These are the damping force. You've got the yellow, which is softer, and then the blue, which is a little bit more firm. And it basically just, the yellow one is gives a little bit more damping. The blue one, I would say, gives a little bit more control. So I am going to try the blue one, even though the yellow one is more for, you know, noobs and intermediate riders, kind of like myself. But we're going to try out the blue ones, and we can always switch them out later. I did want to make note, I'm putting anti-seize on all of this hardware because it's stainless steel. This tool will keep the correct spacing between your clamps. It's important to put this on there. Then you can adjust your bars. It even has the little space here so you can see your adjustment. I'll probably come back and adjust these later. All right, man, now this thing is really looking like a dirt bike. I know I keep saying that, but it's time to do one of the most exciting pieces of the entire build. And that is the wire harness. We have this huge tangled mess of wires. I know, terribly fun, and I'm sure you guys are jumping out of your seats. I understand, I truly do. But unfortunately, I'm gonna do this on my own. You guys are gonna just have to watch like a time lapse or something. Well, it's been a solid week of wiring. Well, not actually a week. I had a trip that happened to fall right in the middle of this build, and I've been gone for about a week. But I did spend a good bit of time wiring up this bike. So I have everything plugged in as far as I know. There's a couple vacant wires. This is one right here. I just cannot for the life of me figure out where the hell that thing goes. The KTM service manual is definitely not my favorite. A lot of the other manuals that I use have wire routing diagrams that show where the wires go. You know, if they go down and they loop inside the frame or over the frame or whatever. They're really intuitive, and the KTM manual just didn't have that. So I basically used pictures and just ran the wires the way that seemed the best, but it's really nice when they include those diagrams. Anyways, I did get these zip tires that damn near match the frame color perfectly, but I don't want to throw these on just yet. I want to make sure that everything powers up before I tidy everything up and put like the motor mount on here, because once we put all that stuff on there, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do any rearrangement of the wires. Now, as far as I know, this KTM does not have a keyed ignition, or if it did have one, it was deleted at some point in time. And I don't know that there's any indicators, like little lights or anything like that, that show that everything's hooked up properly and it's powered up. So I know my KX250 was like that, brand new from the factory. So the way to test this, I guess, is just going to be to press the start button and see if the engine turns over. So I don't have any oil in the engine or anything. The exhaust isn't on there or anything, but there's no fuel either. So it shouldn't fire up. I'm just going to peck at this starter button and we'll see what happens. It works. I was a little bit worried there, I'm not gonna lie. So definitely relieving knowing that the at least electronics are somewhat hooked up properly. I've still got some tied in up to do. But what's nice about taking the week vacation was that I ordered a couple parts and they are here now. If you come up here on top of the shock, there is an adjustment knob and you can see this one has seen better days. There's like a little split in it and it's just discolored, kind of looks crappy. Got a brand new one right here from KTM, so we can swap that out. And inside here on the throttle body, there is, I believe that is the idle adjustment knob, and you can see one of the little knobs is broken away. So right here, got a brand new one from KTM, and I'm pretty sure I can fish this in there and we can replace it with the throttle body in position. These are both gonna be a little difficult to get to. This would have been a lot easier if I had done this before I put the bars on, but I didn't know that you could even get this little piece at that time. But I think we can fit this bit in here. Shit. We are literally just barely at the limit of fitment for this tool. That's what she said. Oh, shit. Here's our freshie. Okay, there's one. And I think I can fish a Phillips in here and pop off this idle screw. Thank God this new idle screw came with a spring because I have no idea where the old one went. We're getting pretty close to firing this thing up, man. I want to get the exhaust on and get some oil in there first. This header, this FMF Powerbomb, was super hard to get, dude. It's a titanium header, discontinued. I had contacted FMF months ago when I had first bought this thing. I mean, literally, I don't know, 10 months ago. And still, I don't think it's in stock, but I did find this one. It's actually used, but as you guys can see, it cleaned up and basically looks brand new. I got it on eBay. It was a pretty good price too. As far as I know, there's no head gasket or gasket for the header. It just slides right in place. All the tolerances on this KTM are really tight. We've got these two little exhaust springs. Oh, man. All right. We've got one bolt up here. That's it. Man, that's really close. I think I got it. Bastard. That's right. For a split second there, I thought we got screwed on this used exhaust. It fits though. All right, then we've got this mid pipe that should slide in here. As far as I know, this doesn't call for any gasket sealer. It just slides in place. Interesting how the spring is on top and not on bottom. It really makes for some super tight tolerances. Then we've got our factory 4.1 silencer, which looks so freaking cool. We've got the carbon end cap on there. This thing is awesome, dude. It always kind of bothers me, though, that you still have to use, you have to either buy OEM grommets and mounting hardware, or you have to take it off of your stock system and put it in here. This whole system together, new, is like $1,200. And you still got to buy the grommets for it, man. What the heck? But they do have these really nice inserts here. I'm assuming that this muffler works on several other bikes. And we'll just pop this on here. There's no clamps or anything. It's just springs that holds this together. These get these kind of interesting, like, double lock washers that face each other. And they're only M8s, if you can believe that. We'll pop our air filter in here. I like the way KTM does this. They've got these little barbs. They pop into little grommets. And it makes it really easy to switch out. You can even do it by hand. You don't need any tools. So probably if you're on the trail or something, that's going to be really nice and easy. It really is like super nice. And even though we don't need these for the first startup, I'm going to put the radiators in place. These are the original radiators, the takeoffs. They were originally tweaked. I had bought some cheapy GPI radiators, and a lot of people weren't happy about that. So what I did is I took the old radiators, sent them to Brett at ICW. Brett will take, as long as they're not like totally destroyed, he can straighten radiators. He does not do the fins. I had to do the fins by myself, but he can straighten if it's twisted, and then he can put these braces on the front. And I also got it braced on the back. That's going to add some structural integrity to these things. And they just basically look like brand new. So definitely a nice upgrade. If you guys remember on this side, I had to cut one of these off because the threads were stripped out. A bolt had broken off there at some point in time. I think it was this one. And now that it's powder coated, after I welded that on, you can't even tell. And these are factory KTM radiator louvers. I ordered these from Scott Power Sports. I had initially had these custom billet ones from Flow, but they were just overkill, man. And I'm not like an enduro rider, so I think it was kind of unnecessary for my needs. I got to admit, though, they are pretty sturdy compared to other louvers I've seen, and I am using a little bit of anti-seize on this hardware so we don't get another stuck bolt that has to get cut off of these things. Oh, man, we are so close to firing this thing up. Got our brand new fuel tank from Scott Power Sports. It is a KTM OEM, the Acerbis one, or Acerbis. Is that the right way? I don't know. That one was huge, though, dude. So I got a new factory OEM tank. And last but not least, we've got our engine roll. All right, I'm just giving this thing one last look over, making sure we don't have any leaks or anything. There's no coolant in there, but I usually don't do that for the first start because if we've got an issue, that's just another thing we have to drain. I think we're good to go. I imagine this system is going to need to prime, so I'll probably let it turn over a couple times, and then that should activate the fuel pump, and then it'll prime, and then it should start up, well, in theory. So first starts can be sometimes not that fast, but I'm just making excuses. Let's see what happens. All right, well, it turns over good. That's a good sign. Okay, I see fuel injection is blinking on the dash, and I don't hear the fuel pump. So that could be a problem. There is that one plug that I never did find, but I hear bubbling too from the tank. So all right, it just stopped. So I think whatever was filling up with fuel is filled up now. Nothing. I don't like that I don't hear the fuel pump. So let me check my connections first and just see if I can find where this one plug goes, because it is near the throttle body. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, I found it. Literally right on side of the throttle body. I don't know how I missed that. There's a cover on the side of the throttle body, and I remember removing the cover to put the plug in, and I guess I just took the cover off and then didn't plug it in and put the cover right back on. Sometimes that happens. Okay, now that's clipped in place, and hopefully we'll fire right up. All right, 50 bucks says that we hear the fuel pump come on this time. I don't hear it, but let's give it another shot. All right, I'm not hearing anything. The fuel ignition, or FI, whatever that stands for, that light is no longer coming on. So I think plugging in that one connector fixed that issue. But again, I don't hear the fuel pump coming on, and that's concerning me. I really hope that everything inside the tank is okay, because I did replace the fuel pump. Hopefully I hooked all that stuff up correctly and it's not like a faulty unit. All right, first thing I want to check is that our fuel pump is working. So we've got a connector right here on the KTM. It's actually pretty easy to check on these things. If you look on the connector
you can see there's a negative and a positive. So there's little pins in there. I've got some alligator clips, and we're just going to hook it up to the old battery, which I did check. The old battery does still work, and we should get some fuel shooting out of the fuel line here. And even if it doesn't do that, we should hear it humming. I really hope this works, because changing out the fuel filter and the fuel pump was honestly not that easy. So we'll see here. Uh-oh. Oh. That's a bad sign. This fuel pump really broken. Oh, there it goes. Yep. Okay, so the fuel pump does work. All right, we ruled that out. This fuel line also has an automatic shutoff, so if we depress that after running that pump, it should have some pressure built up in here. We should get some gas squirting out. Oh, okay, yeah. So the fuel pump does seem to be working. Now there is a relay in the back here that I was going to test next, but when I put the tank back on, the fuel pump is priming. So maybe it was just a bad connection at the tank plug. Not really sure. There could be, you know, a tweak in the wire harness, a little bug, something we got to work out. But right now the pump is working, so I'm not complaining. Let's see if this thing fires up. I'm just going to give it a little stab, and you guys will be able to hear the fuel pump. I'll check it out. Hear it? That's the fuel pump going. So it wasn't doing that before. So in theory, we should be getting fuel. We haven't checked spark. I'm just assuming that we have spark, and I'm sure we have compression. So it should start. Nothing. Oh. I didn't freaking connect the fuel line. Idiot. I can hear it. I can hear it turning over a little bit easier. Oh. Oh, we're burning our battery out, but I heard it burp there for a second. Oh. It definitely wants to start. Let's give it a little bit of a boost here. First starts can sometimes be a pain in the ass. All right. There was a, I'm guessing this is a cold start on the bottom. I'm not sure what it is, but it was popped out. I popped it back in and it fired right up. So let's turn this idle down a little bit. I just kind of screwed that bastard in there and see if we can get it to idle nice and slow. We certainly don't want to burn the engine up. We got to get our coolant in there, but we know the engine runs. I was honestly a little bit worried there. We'll definitely have to tweak that idle because it was idling really high. But I want to do that once we get some coolant in the radiators, because that way, you know, last thing we want to do is burn up the freaking engine, you know, when it's brand spanking new. So we'll put some coolant in there, and we'll also charge up this battery. But in the meantime, while that's charging, we can get the rest of this bike together. And don't worry, because I know you're worried about this. It has the quiet core in the exhaust. So that's why it sounded that way. Okay, we can take it out. I'm going to put my radiator fluid in now so that I don't forget. Now I'm going to set up all my controls. We've got these really sick flow levers. These things are like basically, you can't break them. That's what they say. So they bend upwards and they go outwards. So if you fall over, they're supposed to be indestructible. Whether that's true or not, I just don't know. And I'm also using these Enduro Engineering that they're for hand guards. They actually act as the top part of the clamp, which makes them super strong. I had these on my KX 250 and I loved them. Learned about these hand guards through the previous owner, Mike. He said that these were the best hand guards out there. And from running them on the KX, they really are good. The grips I'm going to be running are these Torque One lock-on grips. I like these better than the ODIs. Really just a preference thing. But one thing I do like is that they literally just slip on and you screw them on. You don't have like the end clamps on both sides like you do with an ODI. And I've never had these slip on me ever. Jesus, just tight as shit. I think we've got a case of a slightly thicker shaft than we're used to. That's what she said. Of course, right as I say, they're my favorite grips that don't fit. We'll probably just have to sand this down a little bit. All right, that's perfect. much better. You know, sometimes a 30-second job just ends up being 20 minutes of sanding. But we got it on there now, and we're good to go.
Guys, it's extremely expensive to build these projects. Without the help of these great companies, I just wouldn't be able to get the job done. Thank you to Bonehead Performance Coatings, Graphics Producer, Motoblast, PARTZILLA, Power Sports Nation, Rocket Ron Racing, Scott Power Sports, Hermosi, and Wassner High Performance Pistons. Most of these companies I've been using for a long time, and I'm comfortable recommending them to you guys for your own power sports projects. If you're looking for a way to support me and what I do, the best way to do that is by using the companies that support me. All links and applicable promo codes will be linked in the description below. Also, remember to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it. All right, let's get back to the video.
The handlebar setup is looking good. I've got all my controls set up, but we do need to bleed the system. Now this KTM has a hydraulic clutch. The last time I bled a hydraulic clutch, it was for the a Majura system on the Banshee, and it just didn't work out too well. But I think there's a pretty good system that KTM has here in their service manual, basically utilizing this syringe. We're gonna pump our brake fluid, which is what you use in the hydraulic clutch for these KTMs, at least this model. We're gonna pull it into our syringe, and there is a little barb right here, and we will literally reverse bleed this and press the fluid from the bottom. It should fill the line from the bottom up, and then we'll see the fluid reservoir fill up with fluid, and that should be it, in theory. We all know how that works, though. Look at my Maxima Racing brake fluid. This is not just any brake fluid. This is racing brake fluid, all right? You want to run fast, you get better shoes. You want to stop better, you get better brake fluid. I think that's how the saying goes. So we're going to pop this bastard open, and we're just going to take our syringe here. This is actually from a suspension kit that I got, and I decided not to do the suspension. So we've got this brand spanking new syringe here. Just going to suck the fluid in here. Let's just do it, all right? Stop talking. I've had it with my talking. And then I'm going to push fluid through the line. We want the least amount of bubbles that we can possibly get in the system. I tried to prep as much as possible. I put this paper towel up here because the fluid's going to come up here. It might be a little bit difficult to be pumping down there and to see the fluid level up here. So chances are it might overflow. And we've got a little bleeder down here, just like on a brake system. I'm going to run my fluid up as far as I can go. I'm going to minimize the amount of air that's going in the system. Okay, and now we should be able to just pump this in there. I really have no idea how much fluid this thing is going to take. You guys are actually helping me out. I'm able to look at the viewfinder on the camera, and I can watch to see if fluid is coming up into that reservoir. There it is. All right, now I'll tighten this bleeder up. And that seemed pretty easy, but the question is the clutch going to work? Probably not. I did have to do this a couple times, and each time I did it, a little bit more air came out of the system. I think we're good now, though. I can definitely feel the clutch, but we have an adjustable. Damn it. Now, this slave cylinder is an aftermarket. You can see the spider on there. That is the Recluse brand, and it's actually designed for the Recluse auto clutch. So this bike came with an auto clutch in it, but I took that out and put the stock system in there. And I'm actually not sure if this slave cylinder will function with a standard clutch, but it does seem to be functioning. I have it in gear right now, and the back tire is locked. When I pull the clutch, I can turn it in, or I can turn the wheel, but you can definitely feel drag. But I think any system would have that. And as soon as you let out the clutch, it freezes. So it's functioning. But I just don't know if that, well, we're going to have to see when we fire it up, I guess. And if the bike flies away from me when I shift in the first, then that's what happens. But anyways, we've got, I think, 2 components left, really, besides the plastics. We got to get our kickstand on there, and then on the other side, we've got our foot brake. So this kickstand goes on this little kind of protruding portion here that's threaded. There's a bushing that slides on the frame. I think the powder coat is just a little bit too thick. It probably could be pressed on there, but then when it comes time to take it off, it could be a freaking nightmare. So we get a little bit of sandpaper, and we'll wear that down just a little bit. Kind of a pain in the ass getting in here with sandpaper, but I don't think we need to take too much off. All right, let's see how the bushing fits now. Oh, there we go. Pops right in place. Perfect. This is a pretty nice system. You've got this piece right here It's like a spacer or a collar, and there's 2 O-rings on it. I greased it up, and that pops inside the actual kickstand, and then that's what this will pivot on. So you're always going to have good tolerances there. And then this just slides on the frame like so. I almost forgot there's this stainless spacer that goes on in behind. This actually is really nice too, because if this ever wears out, it's replaceable. It's not going to rub up against the frame. And we'll put our bolt in here, and I got a little bit of Loctite on here. Last thing we want is our freaking kickstand falling off. And we've got like a dual spring system here. Not sure how, this might be a little difficult to get on here. Ugh. If I can just get the damn tool out of here. Okay, that wasn't too bad. All right. Now to prevent this from flopping down and, digging in the dirt and potentially deleting yourself, KTM has a pretty good system with this little, it's like a loop bungee kind of deal. And it's going to go right through here on the back of the airbox assembly. This airbox assembly is made for the SX models, which have no kickstand, and it's also for the XCF models and some of the other models too. So basically, we just have to drill that out. When it comes new from the factory, they've got a little plug in there. And this literally just pulls right through here and wraps around the end of the kickstand. Now it can't fall. And the last of our controls is this brake pedal, but man, this thing is freaking sweet. Got it Cerakoted by Bonehead Performance in this bronze color. The hardware is done by Motoblast, all yellow zinc. And then the toe is by Enduro Engineering. It's titanium, and it is super sharp, dude. This thing is freaking sweet. See if we can get this spring on without too much trouble. I imagine that this can be a pain in the ass. Okay. That was actually kind of easy.
Since all our controls are installed, I went ahead and bled the rear and the front brakes. However, I ran into a little bit of a problem with our levers. We got a little bit of a situation going on. In bleeding these brakes, I noticed that these flow levers, the finish on them really nice, but the fitment, not a fan. And it could be that maybe these are the wrong levers or I'm doing something wrong. So we got to take that into account. But I noticed the amount of play here is huge. That's like a whole, I would say, 1/4 of an inch all the way up in here before it engages the plunger on the master cylinder. And that's really critical because this big block back here, as you pull the lever, it actually hits the throttle housing. So if you were pulling this brake in, usually you don't pull all the way in because your fingers are on the handlebar. You want to come to here and have full engagement. There's no way that that's going to happen with this. And I do have this lever adjusted out as far forward as it can go on this little adjuster on the flow lever itself. On the clutch side, we've got the same thing going on. In fact, it seems even worse. That's a lot of play. And again, this lever is adjusted all the way out, but I'd really like for that engagement to happen a lot sooner for the same reason, because as you pull this in, that block comes really close. Our little map selector here, I had to spin this so that it wouldn't hit back here with this big block portion. So it could be something I'm doing wrong, man, but you know what? It's just never easy when you're installing aftermarket things. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is make a little shim or a spacer or something to put in here so that it engages the plunger sooner than, all the way in like this. Otherwise, I'm just putting the stock levers back on and I'm sending those back. "25 hours later, well, not literally, but my God, what a freaking pain in my ass. I've got it all figured out now. The flow levers are on there. It was not the flow levers that were the problem. I'll show you guys in a second, but the levers now have good function and good range of motion. What it ended up being was the piston that goes into the master cylinder. And luckily I had another spare kit here that was a different brand, and I also had the OEM one that I took out, which is the one that I put back in there because it had the best tolerances. So the one that I had been using was a Tusk, just fair warn. I usually don't have any issues with Tusk products, but so you'll see up top there's like a little, kind of like a bowl-like thing where the push rod goes. This isn't the push rod, I'm just using this for reference. And I'll show you how this works.
So this would go in the master cylinder, and then you've got your brake lever, and this also has a little kind of dish portion. And then the push rod goes in between, and as you actuate the lever, it pushes the piston in and out of the master cylinder. Well, if the depth of this piston, if the depth of this is more, then the push rod is going to go further into the piston. Well, I measured this. This one's from Moose. This one, the depth was 6.7 millimeters. This one was 6.2 millimeters. And the factory one was right around 6 millimeters, which means it's going to push the push rod out further. And that little bit more that it pushes out the push rod, that makes a big difference when it's down here and how far the lever sticks out and how much play there is. I don't know if that's going to make sense to anybody, but give me a break here, all right? I'm trying. But the good news is our levers are all set up. I went and bled the brakes. They're very soft. They do stop the wheel, but just barely. And sometimes you have to, when you get on, you move the bike around and stuff, they'll bleed a little bit better. But I got it enough that we can float the front axle. And basically how I like to do that is just spinning the wheel and locking the brake up a couple times. And this is just going to get the axle to kind of settle in between the forks before we tighten down those pinch bolts. We'll do that a couple times. And then just slapping the bike, the triple tree back and forth. It gets that axle to settle in place, because if you don't do this, you can get the front forks, if they're not aligned properly, you'll get some, it could pinch and it could seize up. It's just not good. Now I can come in here and tighten these up. We are so close to getting the plastics on. The next thing I'm going to put on are these KTM frame guards. These are OEM right from KTM. They will protect the side of the frame. They just kind of pop in place, and there's two small fasteners. I put a little bit of low strength Loctite on these because there's going to be a lot of friction on these, and I don't want them coming loose. So just a very, very small amount of the softest Loctite that I have. And finally, an excuse to use one of my color matching zip ties. Can't get over how well that matches. And then I've got this frame grip tape from Attack Racing. Somebody actually told me that these things suck after I bought them. They said they wear through really quickly. But I'm a big fan of actually testing things out and finding out for myself. So, and again, I'm not like the most hardcore rider, so maybe for me these will be great. But they do go on top of the original plastic pieces. I wasn't sure when I was buying these if these went straight to the frame or if they were just supposed to go on top of these, and they do go on top. The good thing is, if you're deciding to do this, these pieces from KTM, they were under $30 for the pair, and then these are only like $15, and they give you 2 sets. So if it does wear through, you can replace it. First thing I'm going to do is clean this up. I've got a little bit of lacquer thinner. You can use contact cleaner also. It's just going to get any oils or anything off of here so that the adhesive sticks good. I'm also cleaning the oils off my fingers too, just for anytime you're working with adhesives. You don't want to get any oils on them. Well, as far as the fitment of the sticker goes, it's pretty good, and it's got a nice tacky feel, so we'll have to see how it holds up. But for 15 bucks, it's worth a shot. Now, this has been kind of a struggle between that one grip not fitting on there and the freaking problems with the master cylinders. I never really thought we'd get to the final step of putting the plastics on, and wouldn't you know it, as luck would have it, I'm missing the freaking plastic screws that screw into the tank. I don't know what happened, but I need 6 of them. Luckily, though, I do have these little kind of generic screws here that will get the job done. They're real short, but they're the right thickness, and we can at least get these on. I already ordered up the OEM KTM ones so that I can swap it out later, but we got to get these on now and at least see what it looks like. We got to finish this bike up.
Not gonna lie, man, I almost don't want to put the graphics on. It just looks so good the way that it is with this super poppin' colors and all. It's just a very, very clean look. We gotta put the graphics on though. If you didn't see the beginning of this series, I did design these graphics. They are almost the way that they were when I designed them. So I worked with graphics producer this time around. They do an excellent job, super high quality work. We went with the high vis. This one on the left is a perfect match with our high vis plastics and the frame color. The one on the right is almost like, I hate to say a Kermit green, but it's more, it's not exactly like the frame. It's not as vibrant. A couple of differences, it got like the gray stripe and the blue stripe, whereas this one, it's just got the black. Unfortunately, this super high vis yellow, we tried printing on top with the gray and the blue, and it just didn't work. It like bleeds through. So we had to change a couple things. The colors are just slightly different, but we've got the holographic chrome. I had contemplated doing the entire things in the holographic or chrome because I know that's kind of like trending a little bit, but I just thought it would look a little bit tacky. So in working with graphics producer, he said that they could do the chrome or the holographic and the traditional style graphics, and it looks really good. If you feel it, you can actually feel it's an overlay. So it's a layered graphic. They have the standard one, then they put the chrome on top, and then there's a clear on top. So they put a lot of work into producing these graphics. They really do come out excellent. Highly recommend. I've worked with several graphics companies as of now. There's not really any one that I was disappointed in, but I have to say the professionalism, how quickly they got the stuff done, and just working with the guys over there, it was excellent. So I'm going to try installing these a different way. I usually spray it with Windex or some kind of like soapy liquid, and then I squeegee out the soap. I was told that putting them on dry is actually a better method. So I'm going to test it out, and hopefully there's not like a million freaking bubbles, but it probably will be. Oh man, I take back everything I said about loving it without the graphics. These graphics look freaking amazing. Perfect match with the frame, and it, oh man, in the sun, it just looks so good. You guys got to let me know in the comment section below. Is it better or worse than our rendering? I think it looks so good. You're gonna be laughing at me. If you look at the kickstand over here, I actually put duct tape on the bottom because those shots that you just watched in the smoke and everything, I haven't taken those yet. I don't want to get this billet scratched up on the bottom. I already got a few little scratches in it, I noticed, and I was like, we got to preserve it. Anyways, I tinkered around with the cables and whatnot. I have this down because we might still have to play with it a little bit. I got the idle pretty nice. It seems to be starting okay. There was literally maybe 10 minutes of idle time on the engine. I gave it a couple stabs. We'll just see if it fires up. All right, there we go. It's pretty tame, dude. It's not that loud. It's windy today. I'm hoping the camera will pick up the audio pretty good. It looks to me like there is a quiet core in there, but I don't know how to take it out. You might actually have to drill the rivets, or maybe back here it looks like these are bolts that you can remove and the whole thing slides out or something, but it wasn't so easy that I could just pop it off. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it in there, but I'm sure that can come out. All right, man, first time hopping on the bike. We'll see what it feels like. It seems like it's low. It kind of is. So let's see if I can't quite flat foot with both feet. I'm like just under 5'10", so I'm not too tall and I don't really have long legs. That's kind of like one of those things that my Kawasaki was like really tall. So this feels like it's a little bit lower. Feels nice. We might still have to do a little bit of tuning. We might even need to shim the valves for all I know. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried about the whole clutch situation. I definitely feel drag when the engine's not on and you pull the clutch in, so I guess we're just gonna have to try it out. Oh, I think we might be good. It feels like there's a very small amount of drag. Yeah, it works. I'm being very cautious here because it feels like it's running a little bit weird, which isn't bad. This is it's a fresh build. There's probably stuff that we need to address. Uh-oh. Something's not right with the clutch though, because we're not really getting power. Something's not right. I think our clutch needs to be adjusted a little bit. It's very jumpy too, very sensitive, like the throttle. So the clutch works. It feels like it has too much clutch, like it's still slipping actually. So there's an adjustment on the side actually right here, and I have it all the way in. So I guess it just, maybe the oil had to get on the plates or something. It just felt like it was grabbing and I turned it all the way in. So let's play with that a little bit. I also think either the cables need to be lubricated or the throttle tube or something, but you can see this isn't returning. I think that's giving it like a weird feel. All right, I just got off the phone with Recluse and they confirmed that this adjustable slave cylinder is specifically designed to be worked with the auto clutch. So they recommended that I switch to either their manual slave cylinder, which is designed for the factory clutch system, or to go back to stock. But the good news is they said that I can probably make this one work, and they told me how to adjust it. The way that I have it set now, they said would make the clutch slip. So we're gonna back it all the way out and then go in until there's tension right there. And they said to come out a quarter to a half turn. So we'll come out, we'll do 3/4 of a turn. How about that? And we'll see how that is. I definitely want to switch that out, but my goal is to just see if we can even feel the power of this bike today. And then we can address stuff like this throttle being tacky. I think the valves do need to be shimmed a little bit because it doesn't want to start quite as easy as I'd like or stay running. But basically, I just want to make sure that everything works. Oh, we got some power. Oh man, that's cool. I was like a little bit. All right, dude. I gotta remember my front brake doesn't work. It works, but barely. All right, dude. Oh man, I was a little nervous there that we were gonna have some issues. I can definitely feel that there's some tuning that needs to be done. This is second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear. All right, all of the gears work. The bike feels really good. It's gonna be hard to tell suspension until we ride it, but it feels pretty plush. It was done by Rocket Ron, set up the same way that I gave it to him, because the previous rider, Mike Leo, apparently we're about the same weight, and he said the suspension was money the way that it was set up. Oh man, it feels good. I'm not going crazy. This throttle is still really, it feels weird. So this is a success, dude. It works. I don't really want to get off now, but I'm so happy that the slave cylinder worked, dude. I thought for sure it was going to be another week of waiting for the freaking slave cylinder. This thing feels really, really smooth though, and very nimble. I can't wait to take this to the trails. Oh shit, my brakes. Oh man, thank God the back brake works well. Oh dude, you just get carried away. I think it's time to put this one away. It feels good though, and I'll fix up the little stuff and then we'll take it to the trails. Shifts very smooth. Nice. Nice, dude. I'm telling you, I was so worried about that slave cylinder. It feels so good, I might not even switch it. Oh, and the kill switch works. Awesome. You know, it's so funny how the littlest things can make something really nice seem crappy. Like if you've ever seen a Ferrari that has squeaky brakes, it can be a $500,000 car, but the squeaky brakes just make it sound like hell. And this bike has got like the trifecta of those issues. Actually, I think the quadfecta, is that a word? It's got like the four things. It's got the brakes still need to be bled so they feel weak. The throttle is tacky so it feels weird. It doesn't want to start quite right, and the clutch has a wacky feel. It's like, this bike freaking sucks, and I'm not gonna lie, for a moment there on that first test ride when it wasn't working right and the clutch was slipping, man, I really just wanted to throw in the towel, at least for the day, and be like, you know what, I don't feel like working on this thing anymore. Like 9 days I was away, and I came back and I got right back on the grind. I've been skipping the gym to try to work extra on this, and I've just been tired of all the little problems and stuff. But man, if there's anything that you can take from this video, it's that when you're doing a project like this, it is not easy. There's a lot of little stuff, little things that are gonna come up. Nothing's gonna go on right. You know, even the freaking grips weren't going on right, but you just take your time, don't give up. You will get it right, but taking your time is really the key to making everything, you know, work the right way. And sometimes it's just not easy. I'm so glad that we got that last little ride in there and we could feel the power. Thank you to Mike at Recluse for teaching me how to set that that slave cylinder up, because if not for that, man, I think I'd still be pretty pissed off, because we'd have to order that slave cylinder and we'd be waiting even longer. Thank you to everybody that watched the series, especially if you saw it from the beginning. If you haven't, make sure to go back and check this thing out. It was a wreck when we got it. The bike was blown up. Didn't even look anything like this, total basket case. And we've got it back together, beautiful, a little bit more tweaking, and it's gonna be absolutely 100%. I think this thing is gonna be a freaking unit in the trails, dude. I cannot wait to get it out there. And I do wanna also mention the sponsors of this bike, because I couldn't do it without those guys. Everything on this bike, if it's applicable, there will be a link in the description below, as well as promo codes if I have one. We've got Bonehead Performance. They did this tremendous powder coating work that's super vibrant poppin' yellow. We've got Wassner. They provided the piston and the crank. Power Sports Nation, they rebuilt the crank with those Wassner components. Hermosi provided the rims. We've got the SBC 720 bar clamps. from Hermosi, and we've got Scott Power Sports. They provided all of the OEM parts for this bike. If you need any OEM parts for KTM or Husqvarna, hit up Scott Power Sports and make sure to use my promo code. It is Sabo Saves Me 20, and you got to use caps, just like I have it here on the screen. Rocket Ron Racing completely rebuilt the shocks and set them up for my weight. He always does excellent work. Super plush suspension. PARTZILLA.com provided a ton of the aftermarket parts, such as the bearings, consumables, the tires, and other parts. And then, of course, we've got Graphics Producer. They help me out with these graphics. Even though I design these graphics, they can design them for you because not everybody is a graphics designer. They do excellent work, and they're super fast on their turnaround time. I really enjoyed working with those guys. And last but not least, we've got Moto Blast. All of those gold bolts, that's yellow zinc. Those are the original hardware. I send them to Moto Blast. They can be dirty and rusty bolts. He can vapor blast them, and then he puts brand new zinc coating on them. All that stuff comes out absolutely tremendous, and he does vapor blasting as well. The cases on this engine have been vapor blasted by Moto Blast, and they turn out absolutely amazing. He does tremendous work. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out tremendously. And consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. There are tons of other videos doing restorations and rebuilds just like this one if you guys want to check out some old content. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.